Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwantner. Welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we are in San Francisco at Sales 2.0. We have the pleasure of speaking with Jeff Seeley, CEO of Karoo, a wonderful training and development company. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Gerhard. Thank you for having me.
You gave an amazing presentation on the DNA of high performance. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been able to do a lot of research over the last couple of years to really understand what top performers look like and what they do and what they need. And that's the interesting thing is everyone wants to go out and find the secret DNA of a great successful person.
Yeah.
But those people also need certain things, and that becomes part of the DNA of the company. And so some of the things that we've really learned is how to do that and what's important for a hiring culture.
And speaking of DNA, we can talk about genomes, and there are three that you mentioned. Let's start with communications.
Yeah, one of the things that we keep hearing about more and more and seeing in the real world is the inability for people to communicate at multiple levels. We get so much engaged in the technology of communication that we sometimes forget there are other types of communication. So we think about the social skills, whether it's the Facebook, the Snapchat, the Twitter, all those kinds of things. But how you communicate and how you construct that message becomes really critical to success. And as we look at this new generation of sellers coming in, and even some of us oldsters who get locked into technology some way, shape, or form, we lose those skill sets. And so what we're really trying to understand is what's the best skill sets for that.
So when you say communicate on multiple levels, what do you mean?
Well, a lot of times in a traditional selling environment, you used to have one level of communication, whoever the seller contact was, and that's where you would communicate. Now it really becomes you have to have communication at everything from the C level, for lack of a better term, through marketing, engineering, sales, operations, technology groups, wherever it is in the organization that are potentially being influenced by your product or service, you need to be able to have a communication stream to those people. So if you think about if you're selling Apple, you want to be talking to the product development people at Apple, not just the purchasing agent. Or if you're selling to Amazon, you want to be able to talk to the packaging specialist, the productivity specialist, the distribution people, the facilities managers, all those different people who are influenced by your product or service in some way,
Right.
shape, or form.
So you need to have a message that articulates the value you're going to create for that particular function within that company.
Not only the message of what that is, but more importantly, the ability to listen to what it is. And that's where salespeople really get confused when they get to these multi-levels. They think, okay, I've got my one opportunity with Gerhard. I need to sell him on all the reasons why to do business with Karoo. Whereas what I really need to be doing is listening to why should you be doing business with
Right.
Karoo? What is important? So I need to have those couple really good, insightful questions or nuggets to get you to be saying, wait a second, oh, this is how this applies to my business. I'd like to tell you more about my business
Right.
versus me coming in and giving you
Right.
the walking, talking marketing brochure.
So it's not just about the why also, it's also the how to communicate. How do you address that?
Well, one of the things that we've really started getting into is how do you make a more concise message? How do you ask more insightful questions? How do you deliver insight? And obviously there's a lot written right now
Right.
about the whole concept of insight selling and all these different things. Well, one of the things we've learned is you can't communicate insight in a meaningful way until you start establishing a relationship with that individual where they take your advice, your insights seriously. If you're just an individual walking around giving me information, then you're an information provider. And insight is something that's going to directly affect my business
Right.
in a positive way.
Right. And as a communicator, how do you help salespeople differentiate between the need for communicating to the customer what the customer likes and sort of separating what the salesperson likes? Because sometimes salespeople get hung up or get in a groove and say, well, this is the way I always communicate.
Yeah, and we talk about this as the operating reality. They
Right.
get so locked into their own operating reality, they don't see the operating reality of others. And so consequently, what happens is they have a monologue going on in their brain, and as soon as that monologue kicks in, it's like truly watching a monologue. We're not going to make this interactive in any way, shape, or form. One of the things that we do is really teach sales professionals how to create space in that monologue so that when they adjust the monologue, that it's just not funny to them. If we're using comedy as an analogy,
Right.
sometimes comedy is funny to the person who said it, and to everyone else it's
Right.
just really a foolish comment. It helps them understand how to tailor their message in a way that connects and resonates with what the customer is really experiencing. And how do they get over their own fears, their dispositions, all the things that are driving them in a way that keep them focused on that monologue.
Right.
We also work with companies to teach them how to get the culture to be such, to be customer focused. Because a lot of times CEOs will say, we got to sell more, got to sell more, and they've got the plan of the month, the plan of the week, whatever it is, and so that defeats the purpose of being focused on the customer's reality versus their own.
Right. So we are going to continue our conversation with Jeff on the DNA of a high-performing organization when we shift the conversation from communication to leadership. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Gerhard.